It's Wednesday, so the real ones already know we have the second week of the CDL matches coming up, and it's only right that I do my pick'ems. We're currently sitting at 25 and 15 in the qualifier matches, and I have to say, I'm very confident in my predictions. First match of the week, we have the Paris Legion and the London Royal Ravens, the absolute blockbuster. This is a 3-0 written all over it. I do think Paris could win a map, okay? But there's no shot they win this series. London looked too good. I think Gizmo is back. From what I've seen with Paris, especially with their new roster, including Tom Gravity and Jimbo, not looking too hot. OpTic Texas versus the Seattle Surge. I actually think this has potential, okay? Seattle just recently beat FaZe. For some reason, Seattle Surge has Atlanta FaZe's number. I don't know how. But maybe they use that to their advantage, right? Maybe they use that momentum, that confidence going into this match. This is going to be a big series for the Seattle Surge, but it's going to be a tough one. And that's because the only way I can realistically see Seattle winning is if they do it the old-fashioned, the gritty 2-3-5. And they're not going to win the control. I would be very surprised. OpTic is the best control team in the game, but they're going to need to win 2 SNDs, and they have to get lucky, I guess, in the sense of if OpTic kind of followed their trend from their last series versus LAT, where they test out their weaker maps to try and deepen their map pool. Because the only issue is for Seattle, their best hardpoint, their only good hardpoint is Tuscan hardpoint. Okay, they're pretty poor at every other map, and that's also OpTic's best hardpoint. And OpTic is also one of the best hardpoint teams in the game right now. So I'm not confident if I'm a Seattle Surge fan. I'll be honest with you. I think this will be a 3-1 in favor of OpTic. They just look too strong as of late. Boston Breach versus the Minnesota Rokkr. And look, I've been going against Boston all damn year so far, and it hasn't really worked out, but why switch up now? Okay, I have a feeling that Minnesota are going to come out on top. Minnesota recently made the role change, making attach not a main AR, but a flex player. He will be running that AR a lot more, Priest on the sub more. I think they're going to come out with the win. I do think Minnesota is the stronger S&D team. And while Boston is the stronger hardpoint team, I also think Minnesota have a slight advantage in the controls. The only issue is both teams are not good at control. But Boston Breach is just that much worse. I just have a feeling. I'm basically betting that Minnesota win both S&Ds and they can steal a respawn. We're going to see how that one pans out, but I'm fairly confident through the first day. I'm just going to be sitting at a very comfortable 3-0. First match on Saturday is the London Royal Ravens versus the Atlanta FaZe. The Atlanta FaZe have a very tough schedule this week, so I'm interested to see how they bounce back from that loss against Seattle. But if you guys aren't already subbed to the channel, I would appreciate it if you could do so, as I have one goal in 2022, and that is to pass Octane in total sub count. So it means a lot to me. I appreciate the love. As always, man, you guys have been crazy. But now we're back into my reasoning on who I think is going to win this matchup. And this is where it's tough, right? Because the Royal Ravens are a very good team. Now, if you were to ask me, Enable, who is the better team, I would say Atlanta FaZe. Okay? The last time they matched up on LAN, it should have been a 3-0 in favor of FaZe, but they got 5-1 came back on by London on Desert Siege, worst map of all time, by the way. But there's another issue at hand. Is Atlanta FaZe starting to decline? Is Seattle Surge just Atlanta FaZe's kryptonite? Like they just can't seem to beat them? I have a hair in my face. Or am I talking out of my ass? So there's 3 options here, and none of them are necessarily good if you're an Atlanta FaZe fan. But it's all about that control, man. It's all about that control, and I don't know who's going to win the coin toss. It makes no sense, by the way, why there is a, don't even get me started on that. And I could talk about the Call of Duty issues for days on days at a time. But you know what? I'm going to go with another upset. I think the London Royal Ravens are going to upset Atlanta FaZe. I think they're going to kind of get blessed with the control coin toss. And then they're going to pick their strong one. And I just think that's going to be basically the decider. Paris Legion versus the New York Subliners. Do I actually have to talk about this series? This is the toilet bowl of the CDL. There's rumors that NYSL are signing Paul X. Okay, and they're also targeting another player, so that would be a 2-person swap. Now, it's looking like Paul X is actually going to be playing in this series versus Paris, and while I don't think that he's going to turn them into some superstar team, I think we might see a little bit of a honeymoon. Paul X is a very talented player, And I have NYSL winning this series. I think it'll be close though, but I do have NYSL coming out on top of the Toilet Bowl 2022. Unfortunately, Paris Legion, that is a 0-2 week for y'all though. OpTic Texas versus the Florida Mutineers. This Florida team went 2-0 last week. So are they hitting rhythm? Are they starting to find consistency? Are they finally playing with just a very small amount of fundamentals? That's the question to be asked here. And I think they are. I think they are starting to find their footing. They look great. They had a 2-0 week. Big Wake has been frying. I got OpTic in 3, unfortunately. Toronto Ultra versus the Boston Breach. This is another matchup from the Major, man, where Boston lost game 5 to Toronto. But we're finally seeing a Toronto Ultra team that can win a hardpoint. They got top 4 without winning a single hardpoint at the Major, which is very typical and honestly downright impressive. And even though Boston has looked solid, and I clearly hate them because I just root against them every single matchup, I think Toronto is going to at least win one hardpoint in this series, and they're definitely a way better control team. SND, I think I would slightly give the edge to Toronto as well, but I have a 3-1 victory for Toronto Ultra. Unfortunately, Boston Breach, that's also an 0-2 week. Moving on to the last day, though, we have the Los Angeles Guerrillas versus the Seattle Surge. Damn, man. I hate when teams are so inconsistent. I've come to the conclusion that Seattle Surge, they find their footing here. Okay, last week they beat FaZe. They have a very tough first match against OpTic, but I think they do come out with the victory versus LAG. I mean, dude, it's just LAG is only really even solid at hardpoint. Okay, SND and Control, they're just not great by any means. And I do think that Seattle is the better SND team by far. And I also think that their Control is solid enough to put them over the hump. I do think this will be a 3-2 though, but I have Seattle Surge edging it out in that game 5. Los Angeles Thieves versus the Minnesota Rokkr. LAT, man, this is a must win for them. This is a must win. They went 0-2 last week. Even though they only play once this week, which sucks, especially because on Sunday, they know they need to win. Okay, if they don't win this series versus Minnesota Rokkr, there's 2 issues. 1, they will almost 100% start on losers at the Major. And 2, you have to think that maybe a team change is festering inside of JCap's stomach. He's itching for a team change at this point if they lose this series. So I just don't think they're going to. They aren't the best hardpoint team. They are still very good at it. They are one of the best. And their S&D has looked a little better. Okay, we got to give credit where credit's due. It's not piss poor anymore. It's still below average, and Minnesota is a very good S&D team. But I also favor their Control versus Minnesota. Minnesota's not a good respawn team, and I think when you pair that with the fact that LAT know this is a must-win, they got to come out shooting good, because the last 2 series were not pretty. But just looking it over, not only from the matches, but when you look at the stats, just to back it up, Minnesota Rokkr really only have one solid hardpoint. That's Berlin. Okay. LAT is also 3-0 in Berlin. But the issue then comes that LAT is 5-2 in Gavutu, 4-1 in Tuscan. Now, I know everyone's going to say, well, they're getting chowed on Gavutu. They're losing it. They're losing it to top hardpoint teams in the game. The Minnesota Rokkr are 2-2 in Gavutu and 0-5 in Tuscan. So I just feel like no matter what combo of hardpoint maps we get, LAT is going to be the heavy favorite. S&D, obviously, Minnesota is the favorite. And then with the Control, I just think LAT, no matter what, whether it is Gavutu or Tuscan, Minnesota's not a good control team. I think their pacing really hurts them on that map. They just can't find a way to get kills, which is basically what Control is. It's a glorified TDM. So I have LAT win the series 3-1. Last match of the weekend, we have the Toronto Ultra versus the Atlanta FaZe. Now, it'd be crazy, right, if I had Atlanta FaZe going 0-2. And I could see Atlanta losing 2 series in a row, but 3, I just don't know. We're talking about the Atlanta FaZe here, ladies and gentlemen. And not only that, Toronto Ultra is a little bit different than the London Royal Ravens, because the Royal Ravens can definitely compete with Atlanta FaZe in the hardpoints, whereas Toronto Ultra, that's another story. Because while Toronto Ultra love playing Bocage hardpoint, it is their most played hardpoint, and they're not bad. They're 3-2 at it. I told you guys, Atlanta FaZe is currently undefeated. So I don't know if they leave that in. And if they do, well, it wouldn't be their best move. I'll tell you that. And if they do remove it, they're solid at basically no other maps. Like, actually none. They're not good at any of them. While Atlanta FaZe have the clear advantage in the hard points, I think the S&Ds could be close. I really do. I would assume Desert Siege gets taken out by Toronto, and we'll be seeing a Berlin or a Tuscan, or maybe, yeah, probably Berlin and Tuscan, because Bocage is the auto veto for Atlanta FaZe. And then the controls don't really favor Toronto Ultra. I think Atlanta FaZe bounce back. They win this series 3-1. They saved themselves from not only going 0-2, but being on a 3-game losing streak. So those are my pick'ems. I think this is as perfect as you can get. As always, though, I want you guys to let me know in the comment section what you think. Do you think that this has the potential to go flawless? I have a couple upsets, but you always have to. And also let me know just how your predictions look. You know, I want to know if we're kind of on the same page, or you guys have way more wrong predictions on your pick'ems.